So people don't know we've been talking for 20 minutes already before the show even started. And then we talk for 20 minutes after the show's over. I have my Melinda bucket is full by the time we're done. But it's a joy.
We had some things to go over, and I feel like you and I will say anything on air. I feel like there's aren't really any secrets other than we won't name names to get people in trouble, right? That is our boundary. But sometimes you got to get some things out.
Yeah. But some of the stuff is airable, but you don't know where you're going when the conversation starts.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited that we have guests coming up. We've got some cool things going on. But today is just
today.
Melinda show. So I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom McKinsey.
And we're going to unpack some shit with you today. Excited to hear what your topics are.
Can I circle back and toot my boy's horn? I was out golfing with him yesterday. Yeah. Gorgeous day. And he's hard. He's as feral as Patrick to try to capture.
Okay.
He's like bobbing and weaving, 23 years old. It's a little hard to hammer down. Finally hammered him down for a golf day. We always have fun when we go out.
Like regular golf, miniature golf.
Regular golf.
Nice.
We went to the nice it's interesting there. Wentworth used to be a high-end private course.
Yeah.
Wentworth. I mean, you had to live on the property in order to play that course. Yes. Until something happened and they weren't getting the memberships they expected, and so then they opened it to the public. So it's gone down a little bit in quality. I mean, it used to be like golfing on a carpet.
I bet.
But it's quite delightful. Nobody's out there, and then they changed the rates as $23 a person after 3:00.
What's a good? I don't know what golf costs.
If you go to Pebble Beach in California, I think they probably charge you $400 to do a round of golf. That's a high-end golf course. Okay. Municipal courses, you could play, $20 in August. But if the weather is nice like it is now, they'll probably charge you $35, $40 to play.
They change the pricing during the season?
It's all about seasons and demand. Absolutely. They'll jack up the price of a Sunday in May when the weather's gorgeous. You could pay $65, $75 a round to go in prime time on a nice course. And then, after 5:00, you can't physically get a whole round in. So they'll chop the price to whatever, just to get a guy to come out and do 9 holes. It's funny. The local course, Landsbrook, offers unlimited golf after 4:30 for $15. Well,
what does that mean, unlimited
golf? The sun goes down at 6:30, so you have about 2 hours of unlimited golf. Usually takes you 4 hours to play a round.
Oh, does it? Okay. And that's with walking or with one of those little cart things?
The deals all changed, but that was with a cart.
Okay. Very nice.
Unlimited golf after 4:30.
I don't know. So the sun sets there at
6:30-ish.
I don't even know. I mean, for our winters, the sun sets at 4:30 here.
Wow. Well, we got daylight savings coming up on the 14th.
This weekend, right? So I'm sure I'm going to definitely mess that up. Sunsets here at 5:57.
Wow. What's sunrise? 6:30?
You're going to make me look that up. Well, I couldn't tell you because I'm not awake. Does it say on here what time sunrise is? 6:13.
Wow. There you go.
6:13.
It all changes by an hour next week.
I'm very excited. I don't think we could get into the whole controversy. I get why they started daylight savings. I think it's dumb now. We don't really need it, but that's just me.
Okay, that's a topic. We can address that as well.
Talk about that next week.
Anyway, my boys lost 45 pounds.
You got
on the treadmill.
How? Because how? That's crazy.
I think diet and not a lot of exercise. I mean, he's been doing some calisthenics and things, but mostly treadmill. He comes off of work and he's 23 years old, works just on the treadmill for half an hour.
I was going to say, how much treadmill? Because that's the thing. Does he brisk walk?
You can hear it. It shakes the house.
Okay. Nice. That's very exciting. Well, that gives me hope since I'm treadmilling it.
No, it's the way to go. I mean, everything falls under anything. I love my walks in the morning. I get up and go do a mile and a half. It's lovely. I'm not looking forward to the heat.
Yeah. It's March 10th. So doesn't it usually get pretty hot like by April though? I feel like by April.
Yeah, if you can get to June without oppressive heat, you're in good shape. So I'll have to get my walks in earlier and earlier.
Okay. Here in Brooklyn, it's in the 40s, but the sun is out. So we're all outside. We're very excited for our New York summertime. And yesterday it was 61. So I couldn't stand it.
That's
It was
wonderful.
it felt so amazing. And so I have this big porch. And so I took a sheet and laid it down so I could have a little bit of privacy and just laid on the sheet and thought, when you're a teenager and it's summertime, that's how I felt. I felt like a teenager. I was just so happy to have that heat and go, it's getting here,
Oh, it's lovely.
Winter's almost over. So it's very exciting. I'm so happy for Tommy.
I don't own a puppy dog. I was downtown St. Pete, last year, before the COVID.
Yes.
And I'm very active downtown now. Is a very active area. And there's one guy who's kind of homely, right? Okay. But he had this puppy in his hands, like a chick magnet.
It is a chick magnet.
I'm saying, dang, I need to come out. So I don't have a dog, but I got this shirt instead.
Okay. You know what? That should work. Notorious RBG should work in your favor.
And that'll weed out the ones I don't want to talk to anyway, right?
Yes.
If somebody doesn't know and somebody is upset. Right.
You don't have no time for that.
I ain't got no time for that.
Where did you get your shirt at?
I've had this for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, very nice.
I think I bought it remember the CNN was doing a show about her.
CNN?
Yeah, it's not a pay station. I know you don't watch anything unless you're paying.
Which I did watch several movies about her.
Yeah.
Yes. The one movie, it's called it's very misleading because a lot of people I told about it had never heard of it. And I'll look it up while we're talking about it. It has the title, Sex is in the title. And so people didn't understand, but it was really about her life and about the causes that she fought for. And it was fascinating. You think you know stuff and then you don't. You really don't know.
Yeah. What is she? She graduated Harvard or Yale Law, top of her class, couldn't get a job.
While she was graduating from Harvard, her husband had cancer. So she was taking notes for him because he couldn't go for class and doing her Harvard studies and graduate at the top of her class.
And what do you do? I'm having a hard time doing 10 minutes on a rowing machine. And I think I'm a king.
Oh yeah, listen, I was bragging too because I've lost 5 pounds so far. I looked up, I got the treadmill on the 26th, so it's been almost 2 weeks.
That's wonderful.
And I've lost 5 pounds. To me, that's a huge accomplishment because if I had been doing all this work and wasn't losing weight, I think I would just quit.
Yeah, no, you need to get progress. I'm surprised. Like we're coming up on 100 shows. This has become habit for me. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to meet at noon. We didn't know what days we were going to do this. We didn't know what time we were going to do this. Nope. And all of a sudden it's noon on those 3 days. And so I'm getting up and I'm doing my rowing thing. Like I'm getting up, I'm walking a mile and a half. I'm rowing till I get 2,000 meters. There you go.
And you know what? I know we're going to have Christy on the show on Friday, and I will give a diet tip that she gave me that seems to be working.
Oh, no. How long have you been sitting on this?
I just learned yesterday or the day before that you get a gallon jug, fill it with water, and drink that gallon jug in a 24-hour period. It will help flush you out. It's good for your skin, and it'll help you lose weight.
I've got another diet tip. I just thought about it just as you were saying it.
Yes.
Get a gallon jug and then carry it around with you until you drink it all. So you're doing a little weight exercise, like a baby.
Yeah, I'll write that down. That seems very realistic. Carry water jug at all times.
Like Gunga Din.
Okay, stand-up comedian.
Hello.
So tell me, what are your topics today, kind sir?
I have a serious topic.
Oh.
Drop an egg, and another topic.
Yes, drop an egg.
Which is
yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Where I'm better than a hot chick.
Okay, let me tell you my topics. I know which one I'm picking first.
Yes, ma'am.
Urban legends that scare you. The Streisand effect. Those were both from Monday.
Yes, I like them. I'm glad you're rolling those over because those were good.
Yes. How old is too old, and birth control. What? So I want to hear about you being better than a hot chick. Tell me.
Here's the birth control. What stops somebody? What's the one food that stops women from having sex?
One food
Uh-huh.
stops women from having sex. The one food that stops women from having sex.
It's a joke.
I know, I'm trying to think of the punchline. Would be any food?
Wedding cake.
Yes. 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 That's just like the joke that says, why is the bride smiling when she walks down the aisle?
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
No more blowjobs, baby.
Thank you.
Done.
I try to be a little subtler with my jokes, with my punchlines.
Oh no. Okay, so tell me, how are you hotter than a chick? I want to know.
Okay, so I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, I cannot, even though I'm a gregarious person, right? I enjoy the world. I think positive things pretty much about everybody as an initial position, right?
Yes.
And I love to play, like I've always loved to play. So, I mean, when my kids were in school, third grade, second grade, whatever, I'd go to the lunch room and I would, just engage with my kids. You were allowed to walk into the lunchroom back then and sit and have lunch with your kids, right?
Crazy.
So of course I'm doing magic tricks, making shit disappear and this and that.
You are.
So I'm engaging with a bunch of 7-year-olds, 6 years old. But were I to go to a 7-year-old in line at Publix, it would be people would be shooting flares off. Child molester.
Not allowed.
And it kills me because once in a while you see a kid ready to engage. Like I'll be in line and two little black girls that are twins looking at me like, look at this tall white man. And I wanted to do material and do magic tricks and whatever, but it's like, I can't do that in public. I cannot.
Nope.
It's shitty. Now a hot chick could do that.
Yes.
Hot women could do that. They can engage with kids. No one's the wiser. No one thinks nothing's ever going to happen.
No.
However, when I'm out and about in my neighborhood,
yes,
taking my walk, I get to talk to everybody who's 30 years and older. Anybody who's 30 years and older, I can engage in a conversation about weather, traffic patterns, something in the news. Yeah. However, a hot chick cannot engage with men. She's not allowed, because if she's engages, says anything, they're going to take it as flirting.
Yeah.
Right?
That is so real. That is so real. I can't tell you the amount of times I was halfway friendly to a dude because he's a human being.
Yeah.
You can see the wheels ticking like, oh, guess what she wants? It's terrible. Why is it that way? Is there a way we can change that, Tom?
I wish, but there's no way I get to engage. I get to play with, kids I don't know. But in the same way, I guess it's just how society is. And it's sad because I think a kid, like I loved it when my dad's friend, Pete Foley, came by. It was great. We were laughing the whole time. He was a cut up in a cart and a maniac. But, I enjoyed that because my dad, that wasn't my dad. My dad was not funny. My dad was not a cut up. My dad was not a card. He's a businessman. Right. And he's, but it's nice to be introduced to those people. And so maybe these kids don't have a guy like that in their lives. That's, kind of crazy. Maybe they're just thinking of adults as being serious and a policeman. And it's, they don't have a neighborhood, colorful person in their lives.
Well, that's why we have hot chicks.
Maybe I can get certified or something. There could be a certification process where I could wear a hat.
Yes, because that doesn't scream pedophilia at all.
And a clown nose.
Not at all.
I'm just spitballing here. I don't have.
Yeah, you got to spitball it. I did look up the Ruth Bader Ginsburg film. It's called On the Basis of Sex.
Really?
Yes. And so, of course, that gives a different idea. But it's about, being a female and what happens. Like you said, she graduated top of her class from Harvard, could not get a job. Not only couldn't get a job, they told her not to. They told her to stay home with her kid and her husband. She didn't need a job.
That movie disappointed a lot of men. They got that on pay-per-view and were just taking their pants off. Yeah. Okay, let's get to the good part.
What? And this is why we love men so much. They're so awesome. So which one of my topics sounds good to you?
I love the Barbra Streisand one. What was the other one from last week?
Um, urban legends that scare you, or birth control, or how old is too old?
Let's do Barbara Streisand.
Okay, so this is called the Streisand effect. Okay, have you heard of this Streisand effect?
I have not.
Okay, it's an actual legal term. And
What?
yes, I someone had mentioned in on social media, they said, "Oh, this sounds like the Streisand effect." All right, Google, what is that? Here's what Google says the Streisand effect.
Hang on. May I take a guess?
Yes.
Well, let me just think this through out loud.
Yes.
So Barbara Streisand is famous for being a little crabby, an unbelievable voice.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. A little crazy, a little bossy, but you know what? That she's probably bossy in the way that a man is aggressive and assertive, and she does the same thing, and she's bossy and a bitch. Okay, so I'm not. That's not points against her, but the Streisand effect. It's where do you think she sang a song and she didn't, or or people change something? She changes an attitude or behavior because of her. I'm lost. I got nothing. Okay.
So the Streisand effect is a social phenomenon that occurs when an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information has the unintended consequence of further publicizing that information. Do you remember this story now? Why it was named after her?
Didn't she come out against something like a book banning or something, and then now everybody wants to do what she said don't to do. To do it.
Yeah, pretty much. She tried to suppress the California Coastal Records Project because they were talking about erosion, and she wanted to shut it down because her house was in Malibu on the very edge. And so because she tried to shut it down, it drew attention to her, and then she got in a lot of trouble. And the reason this was brought up is because in Georgia, there's a very wealthy family that tried to sue a TikToker because the TikToker mentioned that they had been at the January 6th Capitol riots, right? She posted and said, hey, these people posted that they've been there. And then these people came after her and said, you know what, we're suing you for calling us out. So they called it the Streisand effect because then they got a ton of attention. You clearly did something wrong. But I think here's what I'm learning after watching so many things. And I guess my own experience in the courts when I was going through my divorce is people that are used to getting their way or that are bullies will come after you even harder, even though they're wrong, to shut you down.
Right. They're going to throw money at it and try to suppress your ideas. And
it works a lot of the time because money does talk. I mean, that's a true thing. And so I thought it was interesting when I was reading about this TikToker and they're like, oh, this sounds like the Streisand effect. What is that? Oh, Barbara, you sneaky, sneaky lady. You can't do that. I don't care how rich you are. One day something will catch up to you eventually. I mean, you can't be a bully, especially in today's world. I feel like a lot right now, don't you feel like a lot of things are bubbling up? A lot of like, whoa, they did this 20 years ago.
And it's good and it's bad. I think there's a little overreaction, but yes, it is. I had this conversation with Patrick.
Uh-huh. Patrick, the Patrick that won't come on our show. That Patrick.
Come on in. Come here. I have a little kibble here. Here you go.
Here, Patrick. Vegetarian, what?
Well, let's look at the Dr. Seuss thing, right?
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Okay, well, I think there's 5 books that the owners of the rights for Dr. Seuss decided they're not going to print anymore. Correct? That's essentially the story.
Yes.
And I mean, one of those books was one of my favorites. What I've seen on Mulberry Street, or something like that. Have you ever read that book?
I'm sure I've read them all. Yes.
Anyway, so I mean, and in one of the book, there's a horrible depiction of a black person, and they look monkey-like or tribal-like, something like that. Well, this was written in 1958, 62, whatever. Not good. And I'm saying, so then you got to say, as an adult, I can absorb that. I could look at that and I'm unaffected by that. I understand that that's something that was part of the time and part of the culture, certainly not acceptable now. Right.
Yes.
So now I say I'm a 7-year-old Black girl and I'm reading that book and I'm looking at this depiction. I'm confused. What's going on here? So as an adult, it doesn't affect me. But if somebody is reading that book without context or guidance, yeah, maybe we need to not have that picture in that book for that girl to find. I think that it's very odd. And then you look at the Civil War. We allowed the South to continue to honor and revere their leaders and with statues and stuff. And 100 years later, now what do we have? We got a whole group of culture that's embracing, that flag and that attitude about slavery and make America great again. It's like you didn't crush it at a certain time when you could have crushed it, when you could have stopped that. Like the Nazi flag and Nazi symbol isn't allowed in Germany; it's illegal.
Right.
But we allowed the Confederate this, Confederate that, and statues in this, and we've grown this whole subculture. So
yeah,
there is this freedom, but it's also there's a price associated with it, and you end up making you end up breeding negativity. It's kind of an underculture.
yeah. I mean, I think my opinion is based on what I'm seeing in the media is people are confusing freedom with justice and what is right and proper. Like you're talking about the Confederate and the flag and all those symbols. It it was it was brought up into the public and they made statues. They knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't like, I'm confused. I have no idea what these people did. They knew exactly what these people were doing. And there wasn't enough people to stop it, quite honestly, because Tom, if we weren't in a pandemic right now, half the things we're worried about, we wouldn't
Right.
pay any attention to. We're busy.
But we allowed the South to okay, let's show that we're not crushing them. We're going to allow them to keep part of their culture because we want to be inclusive. So we allowed that to happen.
But
Eyes wide open.
yeah. And so in allowing people to keep their culture, there's a difference between sharing history and promoting what's the right terminology in promoting
racism.
Well, yeah, racism, but in promoting values that really go against what we're supposed to be about here in America, which, we talk about how, oh, give us your immigrants. We're all immigrants. We're all immigrated here. Well, wait, not those immigrants. You know what I mean? Like I'm already here, so not those immigrants. And so we get confused. And you're right, because the Confederate flag and all those statues, it gave people a foundation to go, look, we've got all this here. Why can't we? This is America. So I think that when I heard about the Dr. Seuss books, I did read it because, again, everything goes back to intention. And what I have read is that some of these books that were racist were intentionally made this way. This is what I'm reading about Dr. Seuss. And it was allowed to go, just like blackface was allowed to go in that era, because no one stopped it. And so I know people are upset and saying, but Dr. Seuss, okay, but just because Dr. Seuss was a great author doesn't mean everything he did was right. And there's nothing wrong with pointing out and saying, you know what, this is inappropriate. Because you know what, let's flip it. Let's say white people had been suppressed, and then they have these books out making fun of white people's skin. Believe me.
Yeah.
That.
And your 6-year-old is reading a book and it flips a page and, Whitey is, the devil. We're like, what?
Right. And so I just think we've been so familiar with it, Tom. We've been so used to having that in the background that it doesn't scream to us anymore.
Right. People don't understand that that's how offensive that stuff is. And it's just kind of like, well, we're glossing over it because we're the power brokers. It doesn't affect us, or they're not making fun of us. Right. Plus, it was the estate of Dr. Seuss. No county or library said, oh, we're not storing these books anymore. We're not going to. No, the estate said, we're not going to do these anymore because, times have changed. I would like to see them, not for nothing, this is just an idea, where let's continue to print those books perhaps, and then split the screen. Here's what's wrong with this. This was a time, with an explanation or something. I don't know. Maybe it's too much. Maybe there's an addendum at the end or something.
Making it teachable, because I think the problem people that want to abuse other people and other cultures is they take advantage of what's out there and they use that to show value to what it is. And you're right. If you made it teachable and said, we're printing these because we're showing you that this is unacceptable,
right,
makes it very different than, oh, it's okay, it was a sign of the times.
right.
Well, lynching was a sign of the times too.
Yeah, I mean, we've made, Chinese people were and Japanese people were made fun of in caricatures in the 50s and the 60s, and certainly in the 40s during the war and stuff like that.
Right.
You make these
Right.
folks look out to be evil.
Right. We're having a real big problem here in New York. We do have a very big culture of Asian, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and they're getting attacked and beaten because of the virus still. We're getting people pushing them on the track. So now we're reading stories where people are stepping up and protecting them.
Absolutely.
Starting shops and letting people know inappropriate. I do believe I saw a story I think it was in Tampa, Tom, at like a workout gym place where a guy was filmed yelling at the owner operator who was Asian, telling him to go back to China. So someone filmed it, and because they posted it, this guy was a realtor. He lost his job. He just was, because he wouldn't wear a mask. That's what the man said, you must wear a mask. And because he was Asian, he's like, well, you just go back to China. I don't have to, because he was, I'm sorry to say, a white man. And so he said, go back to China. They taped it. I'm glad that he lost a job, because honestly, that's not how you treat people. If you don't want to wear a mask, go outside. Don't go in the gym. No one's forcing you to do anything you don't want to do. But if you want to adhere to what the rest of the world is doing, and you have to take respect for people around you, you have to wear a mask right now. That's just the way it is. Or leave the gym.
I was on Facebook today. People are still, I'm confused. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. Don't. A year into this, you're confused still,
Yeah.
then you're stupid.
Stupid and selfish. And I don't mind saying that. I tried to tiptoe around at the beginning, and now I'm just like right and left. Get out of here.
I see people at Publix without a mask. Like, really?
Ooh. Well, because now the CDC is saying if you've had your shots that you can be with your family members. So it's very confusing.
Well, we're coming. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a pretty straightforward statement. If you've had your shot, if you had a shot. If she's had a shot, we all know okay, we can get on with it.
Here's the other problem. People lie about it. My sister was saying at her job there in Clearwater that they were not letting clients in because of COVID, right? Well, someone said, well, I know, the owner, and I've had my shot. So they called the owner, and the owner was like, yes, I know them. Let them in. It was a couple. Well, guess what they found out once they let the couple in? The man lied. He did not get his shot because he said, oh, I can't get the shot because I have too many other, he lied. And now these 20 somethings that are in the office. So you can't trust, I wouldn't trust someone if they said they had their shot. I'm sorry.
Aren't you issued a little card or something?
My understanding is that they do, but what are you carrying it around? I mean, I would.
Like your license. Absolutely.
I just don't trust someone after. I'm not going to die. I have not stayed in my house for a year to die for a liar. So I'm not going to do it. So we'll see. I think it's going to be confusing times because we all have different feelings, and every state and every city has different rules and regulations.
Well, people they're all look at Florida like, look at Florida was opened up for the last 6 months. No, we weren't. We had some beach communities that allowed tourists to come in, and you get to feel it. You're not all messed up. But believe me, Costco, CVS, Walgreens, Publix, everybody's wearing a mask in Florida, period.
People see and hear what they want to see and hear. You wanted to talk the other day about dropping an egg, and so I'm so curious what that's about. Is it about ovaries? Those kinds of eggs?
Yeah, well, I had maybe it's just an idiotic thought, but women on their cycle drop eggs every month.
Yes.
So why aren't we concerned about harvesting those and keeping them in a freezer versus, a woman's right to handle her body in the way she wants to handle it?
Oh, you mean the idea that those eggs are leaving their body, and that's a life as well for the pro-lifers?
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, why aren't we why are we all upset about that? Or when a man masturbates or something, right? Or has a wet dream, right? What's going on there? We're not concerned about all that.
All those babies. I know. No.
I mean, when an 18-year-old girl and an 18-year-old boy are sitting in the same room, you've got potential for life here. You're not exercising. It becomes ridiculous, the argument, I think.
The argument is ridiculous. And I guess it has come up in court. That became that what you're actually talking about became an argument in court when someone, there was a couple that was getting a divorce and they had frozen some eggs, right? And so they were fighting over the eggs because she was saying, we're divorced. I want to get rid of them. And he said, no, I want them. They're alive. And so her attorney used that very argument that you use, like, hey, every month these eggs go, it's the same thing. These are not fertilized. So therefore they're the same as the eggs in your body. And so she did win. But can you imagine if you had saved eggs with your ex and then your ex said, okay, they're done. I mean, I'm sorry, you said we're done. And then your ex said, no, I'm going to make a baby out of it.
No, that'd be insane. You can't do that.
Well, the guy tried and it didn't work. So yeah, I think it's a crazy argument too. I have to agree with you on that.
I'm just saying I mean, clearly a full term, you're going to get in with a baby, but I think a woman has a right to exercise because it's a chance. It's a mathematical chance. If you have sex so many times while you're fertile, you're going to get pregnant X amount of times, but there's plenty of times you're not going to get pregnant. So just because you had a little bit of bed. Right. By the way, I was watching on Facebook and they had this 5-year-old Italian girl talking in Italian, and she's with the hands. She's like 5 and she's like, well, I don't know what's going on. We try to do this. You got to pay attention to what I'm saying. Come on.
That's
like 5 years old. She's a midget, everything with the hands.
That's so cute. Well, that's been the argument for women's rights is that a woman can only get pregnant at certain times during her cycle. So we can't get pregnant every time, but every time a man ejaculates, there's potential for life, right? There's potential for life. So why is the onus of birth control on the female instead of the male? I looked this up, Tom. Guess how many options women have, at least in
this is segueing to our birth control segment.
Birth control. Guess how many choices women have in like a modern day society? How many birth control choices we women have to
You've got, okay, let me go through them, all right?
You just tell me what you know, sir.
In addition to abstinence, as the good Lord intended.
I'm not going to count that one.
You've got an IUD.
Yes.
You've got cervical caps.
Yes.
Do you no longer have the sponge?
You used to, though. They're still counting it in this list. That was one.
You've got, is it Depo-Provera?
Yes.
You have, you force the guy to wear a condom, I suppose.
No, that's considered his birth control.
Okay, and then you've got your standard birth control pill that you take on a regular basis. So I'm going to say, I said IUD already, didn't I?
You did.
So 4. And no more. There could not possibly be any more.
The answer is 13. There's 13.
You should have got Matt Davis to give you this quiz. You would have finally won one.
Right? So women have spermicide that they can actually put inside of them.
Okay, right. That's fun.
29% of people still get pregnant with that, but it is an option for us. There is something called it's PHEXXI. How would you pronounce that? PHEXXI. It's a non-hormonal gel, which is pretty similar to the spermicide. $250 to $275, but it's a way to slow down the sperm from getting to your precious baby eggs. That's one. So that's 2. There's a female condom that you put up inside of yourself. No, it's still an option.
Oh, I'm not saying no. That's along with the dental dam. Go on.
The problem with the female condom is 21% of the people still get pregnant, and it's very noisy. Ugh. Why
is it a squeaking noise? Or is it like a rocking chair?
I don't know, man. I've never used the female condom because you have to really get it up inside there. I'm not interested in that. There's the diaphragm, the cervical cap, then the sponge, then the pill, like you said. There's also the birth control patch. that women can
Ooh.
wear. It's a patch. You wear it on your skin. So of course, no one's going to shame you for that. You don't have to hide that at all. You wear it 3 weeks on and 1 week off, just like you do with the pill. There's
Mhm.
the vaginal ring. There's a ring that you can actually put up
Oh.
inside you that releases hormones like the pill. There is the birth control shot. There is an actual shot that you can get. It protects 3 months at a time. Only 3% of people get pregnant. It's about $240 a year, but you do get intermittent spotting. So that sounds fun. Let's do that. You never know when you're going to bleed. The birth control implant, women actually get an
Oh,
implant
that's right.
the size of a
Norplant.
stick that if it goes into your arm, you can wear it 3 to 5 years. You will have irregular heavy periods. It can be painful and it might slip out, but hey, ladies, that's a choice. And then the last one is tubal ligation. Get your tubes tied.
Oh yeah. While I'm in there, let's tie these things.
Yeah. So I want to tell you a very interesting tubal ligation story. Men have two, the condom and the vasectomy. Men have two. Even though men can get pregnant, women pregnant every single time.
You're
men have
very excited about this topic. Go ahead.
excited about this topic. So when I was 21 years old, I was living in LA and I had a health scare where one of my fallopian tubes started like just getting blocked and inflamed. I had to go to the emergency room, had to stay overnight at the hospital. They told me because my fallopian tube was blocked, I could probably never have children. Okay. So I was like, at the time, 21, living in LA, and I said, all right, I mean, that's what happens. I don't care. Go to the doctor afterward for the follow up. And I say, you know what? I've been thinking about this. I like the idea of not having children. I want to get my tubes tied just to like make sure this isn't going to happen.
And your daughter's joining us right now. Come on in.
I'm 21. Guess what my doctor in LA told me when I told him that I wanted my tubes tied? Guess in 1981-ish?
I need a note from your grandmother, your grandfather, and 3 neighbors.
He basically said, no, I'm not going to do that because what if one day you meet a man who wants to have children, then you can't. So basically, the stranger I've never met had more power over my body. That I remember being flabbergasted, thinking, "You've got to be kidding me that you said that." No, and he was very clear. He's like, "No, because if you meet a man and he wants him and you don't, then you can't. You can't take it back. So no." So I wasn't able to do that, which I think in today's world it would be different. But in the early 80s, it was very much a man's world. It was very much.
So how do you feel about it? What if you had your tubes tied then?
Well, obviously my life would have been very different. And I'm not saying that I regret.
Okay, you're avoiding the words more fun. Go on.
Oh, I would have had more money for sure. I would have been a completely different person. When I had my girls, I have 3 adult women girls. I had no idea how much I was going to love them. I had no idea. You don't know until you have them. But the track I wanted to follow was the track of, I'm here in LA. I don't want to have to worry about getting pregnant. Don't want to worry about kids. Nothing personal clearly about my kids because I know them now. But at that time,
of course,
it was shocking to me that a doctor told me I couldn't have what I wanted because what if a man wanted something different? Can you ever in your lifetime imagine, Tom, if you as a man go to a doctor and they say, what if this lady you've never met wants something you don't want? You better wait for her to come into your life before we decide, sir.
Very interesting. That's very interesting premise. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So women, we have a lot of options. But again, if men just had vasectomies and then had them reversed later when they were ready, that would solve a lot of pregnancies. I'm just saying.
I've had my vasectomy for 20 years.
So at the era when you had yours, was it easy and simple? I mean, I hear it's not that complicated.
Well, the doctor cautioned me. He goes, you might meet a lady in the future that may want children.
He never questioned you once about your choice, did he? He never did.
It was actually my neighbor who did it. He was a urologist, lived right across the street.
Okay. So
he said when I was under, I'm 42 at this point in my life.
Okay.
And then it was going to be a full anesthesia for this operation.
Okay.
And I'm there. I'm like, man, look at my neighbor. I'm so jealous because he was married to a smoking hot, blonde, very nice lady.
Okay.
And they were like 10 years younger than me. He was in his early 30s and smoking hot. Super nice.
Right.
And I'm like, man, am I jealous of my neighbor?
You said that to him?
I'm talking. I wish his lawn is perfect.
What? You were jealous of his lawn? That's hilarious.
And he's got a scalpel around my nuts. What's that? What are you saying?
The what? The lawn?
Hang on.
Is that code for something else?
No. Oh. That's how entrenched into suburbia I was. And what an honorable man I am, not even lusting after his hot, sexy blonde wife.
At times in your life, the lawn is very, very important.
Oh, I've never had a good lawn my entire life. I've spent so much time on the lawn. Never like, wow, this thing's boom. Hired people, did it myself. I've never had a lawn where I stand back and go, look at that son of a bitch.
That.
I've been wrestling with the lawn ever since.
That's hilarious. So do you have a sexy tip you want to wrap us with? Since we've been talking about birth control, I bet you got a good one.
Why would you say that? Look at you building this up to what? Sexy tip. Well, and why am I surprised? Every day when you throw this tip in my face, I pretend like, what?
What is she talking about? We only do this 3 days a week. You got nothing but time to come up with sexy tips. Plus, you're very good at off the cuff. You're very good at like, hey, Tom, what do you think about this? And
here's a tip. Fellas, go get a nice ring like this. Looks like you were in a World Series.
Okay.
It's a nice little conversation piece. And then they don't know, well, hey, where'd you get the ring? Oh, I used to be a pitching coach for the Rays.
Oh.
Who's going to question me? Salt and pepper hair.
What is it in your life?
What is it?
Yeah, what is it?
Well, when the Rays won the pennant in 2000 and whatever, the next year they passed these out at opening day.
Oh, that's nice.
So I ended up with a bunch of them because I took the kids. It's a great little conversation piece. So I walk into a bar with this on. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It's too much. I'm not saying I saved the season, but the one guy had a little hitch in his release, and I straightened him out. Pitching coach. It's perfect.
The sexy tip of the day is always be your most authentic self.
Pretend to be someone you're not.
Yay!
To get sex.
All right. Well, I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise.
Thanks for packing some shit with us today. We have 2 exciting guests on Friday.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
Yay!
It's crazy, I tell you. And that's another one in the can. See yous on Friday. Our special guest is
Christy, our fantastic acupuncturist and knower of all things.
And Matt Davis says he's coming by with more movie trivia.
Yay!
We'll try to keep him under 87 minutes.
We'll try.
All right.